Hello everyone, Wise Gamer here, and today we are with Martijn and Dick, who just took part of the Ludum Dare Jam, a 72-hour event where they made a game called Wormhunter, a game where you run around as a little guy trying to attack the sandworm and distracting him so you can actually get your hits in on him. How are you guys doing today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. I know I got you guys up pretty early. They are in the Netherlands. It's about 6:30 in the morning over there, but this was a good time for us to try to meet up for the interview, so I really appreciate you guys coming out and everything.
Thank you.
Get caught up on the sleep now after the game jam's done and everything, and
Yeah, it's getting better.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's still a lot of things to do surrounding the jam because there are like over 2,000 games to play.
Yeah, definitely a lot of games to play too. And then you have to rate 20 of them, right?
Yeah, at least 20. 100 is better, but we are way over the 200 now.
Oh wow. Okay, well I definitely want to talk about the Jam Summit and everything too. But to start, how did you guys get started in indie gaming?
You want to go first?
Sure. I've been making games for at least 20 years now. The first games weren't that good because they were in basic. But fast forwarding 4 years ago, that's when I released my first games on iOS. And then I made a few games for myself, just little prototypes. And last year I took part in One Gamer One and made a few new games. Much smaller games, and then this year I went full indie, you could say, and yeah, still looking for that really good game to release.
Yeah, definitely. I've actually gone through some basic myself before, which is always a lot of fun. Did some like text games, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I will definitely have to check out your iOS stuff too, and we'll make sure that we link like a page to any apps like that you have down in the description as well.
Nice.
And then Dick, how did you get started in indie gaming?
I've actually only started in earnest the beginning of this year. I've always, dabbled in making games and started making levels and stuff when I was younger. I always spent more time in the level editors than the actual games with like StarCraft and Half-Life and things like that. And at the beginning of this year, I thought, let's try to do it a bit more seriously. So I also entered the One Game a Month thing. And so far so good. I'm really trying to spend more time actually making games and just small prototypes and stuff. And that's why I decided to join this jam, to see how that is.
Yeah, definitely. I actually have done some of that before with the level editors. Hammer is a great editor. I've used it quite a bit myself, and I'm pretty bad with art, but when you have pre-made assets, it makes things a little bit easier. So, so speaking of that then too, so this is the first time you guys have worked together. So how would you say the whole experience was, kind of creating the whole thing from start to finish in that 72 hours?
It was a bit crazy to do, but it went well.
That's good. I mean, do you guys think you accomplished most of your goals and everything too?
Well, you always start out with way too many ideas and you have to scale back enormously, and then on the second day you realize you have to scale back even more. So I mean, we're really happy with the result, but it's all about scope. It's such a limited time, and it's so easy to get carried away with features and let's add this, let's add that. It really adds up in the end. But I think it's very basic, the thing we made, but it's really good. What we made, we polished pretty heavily for a jam game, at least.
Yeah, especially with the graphics and everything too, and we'll have some of that on the screen here, of course, too, as we're doing the interview. But the artwork that you did, Dick, was just great. I really wish I was good at pixel art like that too, and I mean, everything's just really smooth through the animations and things like that too. For being simple like that, it actually turned out really well.
Yeah, well, that's the nice thing about working in a team. Martin did all the coding, so I had all the time left to do art and a bit of music. So you can really work out or invest in some of the sprites and really make it good.
Yeah, definitely. So then, what was some of your inspiration for the project then?
Well, the biggest inspiration was June and Tremors. It was the first thing that came to my mind when I knew the topic of the jam. And this was the first idea that popped up in my head. Like, yeah, we should really go with a big worm to kill. And I told my wife, and she was like, "Oh yeah, that's great. Make that." and then we had a little discussion about what we would do for the jam, and we both had different ideas. And I'm pretty glad we went with the Wormhunter idea.
What was the other idea, just to be curious?
Was a volcano escape game. It was a combination of platformer, Tetris, and a bit of Mario Kart.
Oh, wow. That would have been a little ambitious, but that would have sounded pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. I think the game, like you guys said too, and I've been saying, is it turned out really well for what you had. 72 hours, first time working together, definitely. It's surprising what you can put together and everything too. And under the surface, I didn't really think anything about sandworms. I think like Beetlejuice when I see the game, or something like that too. And you don't really think about that. So it's definitely some outside the box thinking. Reminds me of like Star Wars a little bit too, with like the Sarlacc pit and things like that. So, so we talked a little bit about features and things like that. So then, what are some of the features that you had originally that you said, you know what, there's just no way we're going to be able to get this in there right by the end of the jam?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
We have. Oh, sorry, Dick.
Go ahead.
Okay. The first feature that was skipped was we originally went with a dude, 3 rocks, and a sword for fighting the worm, and we also had a radar, and then we wanted something that attracted the worm also, and I don't know who really came up with the idea of making beacons that could do the 3 things, like harming the worm, attracting the worm, and be the radar in one.
Yeah.
And so that's why we came up with the beacon idea, and yeah, it didn't really work out as we intended to because we just didn't have the time. But yeah, so the radar was skipped first, and then like the rock is definitely not going to be in there, and we also had the idea of making grenades, so you could blow up the worm. That didn't make it. Little footsteps behind the dude walking over the sand.
Yeah.
I want to add some safe zones where you could stand where the worm couldn't get to you, so you could, chill out a bit. And yeah, most things that were cut were just extra features on the beacon, like more feedback on what it does exactly and how the worm reacts to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Completely understand that, especially with like the radar and stuff like that, and the footsteps. It's just a lot more that you have to add in there to make it right and everything too. So then, speaking of the features that you dropped off, then where's kind of like the next step then? Are you going to be continuing development on this a little bit? Are you guys planning on starting a new project? Anything like that?
Yeah, we're working on a version 1.5, we're calling it right now. We're going to polish this up, add a couple of extra features, make it a bit more playable and a bit longer. It's a really short game right now. Just to see, where we can go with it. And then after that, we're going to see how people react to it and maybe develop it even further. But,
yeah.
I really like that idea too. I would love to see a storyline of like why he's out here killing the worms to begin with. Like, it's very obvious that he's some sort of like villager living out there in the desert, and then like maybe the worms are attacking him. So I could see it as like maybe his village was destroyed and he's getting revenge or something like that maybe. Definitely a lot of different ways you can go with it. So it'd be really interesting to see that, and then any other features like you said too. just kind of go into different areas, or like if there's more than one worm at once, that would be
Yeah, exactly.
a crazy amount of difficulty. So
Different types of worms and everything.
yeah,
we already had have a little video of me playing against 3 worms.
oh jeez.
Yeah, it took me like 20 minutes to beat them the first time. But once you do it, well, when it's done, and then you feel like, yeah, that's really, really cool to achieve this.
Yeah,
fighting 3 worms off.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's that's what I like about these game jams and everything too. And anything that I've seen in the past, it's just you get like a basic concept like that, and then you look at it again 6 months down the line. There's so much more to it, and it's really nice when people can kind of like continue that development from the prototype. So let's see then. So what are some of the like tips and suggestions you have for any future Ludum Dare participants? So if someone wanted to participate in Ludum Dare 30, what would you kind of suggest, or like things that you found that working together for the first time that maybe next time you'll be able to work together a little bit easier?
Well, it's all about scope, I think. You have to limit yourself. Yeah, it's a lot of communication. We did all our communication over Skype, which went pretty well actually. But if you can, be in the same location physically, I think that might help. It's just faster.
Yeah, because what really helped the first day was I also streamed my development, so they could see what I was making and if the animations were correct. But if you're physically near each other in the same room working, then the feedback loop is much smaller, and then you can work much faster. So that would help, and I think if you do Ludum Dare, then really just work for an hour and then take a few minutes off, like 10 minutes away from the keyboard. I didn't do that this time because there was so much stuff we put in there and so much polish for the controls, because I really want to have good controls. But the downside is that my arms still hurt from Ludum Dare right now. So that's not really good.
Yeah, so then to recap that, so we want to have great communication, start early and get your ideas organized, limit your scope, and then take some frequent breaks so you can kind of sit back and reflect on what you're doing, and then rest your arms for the furious keyboard typing that you're doing for your coding too.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, and then I guess kind of going into that too, so what would you say for people that are trying to get into indie gaming? So kind of stepping away from Ludum Dare some. I know you guys mentioned 1 game a month. I've always been told that that's a great way to give you a topic to kind of start with your basic ideas and to make your own game. What else would you guys kind of say for up-and-coming indie game person, either still in high school or maybe college student or something like that, who's looking to kind of get into the indie scene?
Well, I think the most important thing is just make games. Don't make big games, make small games in the beginning, and just make as many as you can. Don't polish them or finish them, just make everything you think of. Just produce stuff. And eventually I think you'll gravitate to what works best for you. And
there are a few things, if you start out, you really have to figure out what you like to do within making games, because there are a few pitfalls, like the 2 years I really didn't release a game. I was just working on my own engine, and if you want to make games, you could make your own engine and then stick with it, but you also have to do maintenance on that code, and if there's a new platform you would like to support, then you have to build it all by yourself. And now I went with Unity, and I just make games, and Unity takes care of the exporting to all the kinds of platforms. And then you're really making games and not thinking about the engine itself. And that just saves so much time. So that's really a programmer's pitfall.
Okay, yeah, no, I can definitely understand that too. Now, outside of the programming part of it, Dick, I haven't really had a chance to talk to too many developers who are more on the art side of things. Like most indie developers have some sort of artistic background where they can do some basic sketches and stuff like that. But how was your experience kind of moving in from the transition from, like you said a little bit before the interview, or at the beginning here, level design and, you know, just kind of basic work with like Hammer Source and Unity, of course, and stuff like that too, to full on making games now. I'm not going to just make a mod for Left 4 Dead. I'm actually going to make my own game or something like that.
It's well, yeah, it's great actually. I love making games because, well, I love doing art, but I also like to program. I also like to do music, and games just combine everything that I love. It's been a pretty smooth transition. I haven't tried to write my own engine or anything. I just use Game Maker or Construct or, you know, some of the, well, a bit more easy to learn game making programs. I'm not trying to really write my own engines and stuff. So it's been pretty smooth actually. There's just so many resources out there today, so many great tutorials, and if you want to learn something, just, you know, spend a day or a weekend trying things, reading tutorials. You can learn so much. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree too. And just kind of to piggyback off of that a little bit too, I would say definitely, I've mentioned in other interviews, but just research and ask for help. And the indie community is really great about helping each other out. And yeah, just everyone is such a great help to everyone else. Like any type of developer, if you have a question, you can always ask, and someone's going to be in that situation at some point in the past, and they usually know how to help you out. Same thing with the art side of things too. A lot of people are willing to help you out with some stuff too. Maybe not all the concepts and stuff like that, since it does take a little while, but they can definitely help you out.
Well, yeah, it's a very, very open community. I've only started following it for the last few months, but yeah, I've been really impressed with it. Everyone's very open and helpful.
Okay, well then, any final words before we kind of wrap up the interview then, guys?
Well, thanks for the interview, I guess.
Yeah, thank you for the interview.
Yeah.
Alrighty then, well thank you guys very much. We will have links to, of course, Wormhunter first of all down in the description. Dick, any of your projects or portfolios that you want to link me, we'll put that down there as well. And then for Martin, I know he has iOS games, and if you guys have like a current dev blog or anything for Wormhunter 1.1, as you guys are kind of calling it, then we'll put that in there as well. So thank you everyone for watching. We will see you next week with another interview, and of course we'll have new videos coming up every day of the week, new indie game preview tomorrow as well. So hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you then. Thank you so much for watching my video today, guys. Make sure you check out my indie game preview on Super Pixelo, as well as my indie gameplay on Octodad Dadliest Catch, a new series that I'm going to be starting up for indie gameplay. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you next time.